I believe there's nothing such as just being lucky. It's about your preparedness, your dedication, and the skills that you have meets the right opportunity. And if that's not true, then I'm very lucky, because I was born in slums, I studied in slums. The slums which I had, the only house that I had, was also flown and destroyed by the floods. And even after that, I was still lucky, because when I went to London, yes, of course, that's a surprise. From slums, I went to London, but even there I was mugged. The money that I earned was lost. I had a live-in relationship, even that was lost. I was lucky so many times, and that's my journey. So the book which we are talking about contains 18 chapters, and it describes the journey that I've taken. And what I say is that there is always an opportunity hidden in adversity. We need to start looking at those opportunities and grow in life. So when we talk about adversities, adversities are faced by everyone. I'm no special. The adversities that I faced, people would have faced even more or even worse adversities than me. But the difference is the decisions that you take at the crossroads of your life decide your future. So I was born in Nashik, and 3 months, and then we shifted to Bombay. Bombay, as everyone knows, is expensive, but is also a city of dreams. So we lived in a house which was no bigger than a 10 by 10 room, and in that room was everything that we had: our bedroom, our living room, our dining room, our kitchen, and even our study room. So when things happen that I don't have my own study room, or I don't have my own bedroom, or I don't have my comfort room, I just feel laughing at it, is because where there is a will, there is a way. And that's exactly where my journey began, and we started living there and finding every opportunity in those adversities. Like if there's rains and there's a roof which is dripping, I saw my mother having an umbrella and still cooking, but with a smile. And then when we go and eat, the light goes off, because when the monsoon are there, the light meter is just outside my house. The light goes off. Now people would crib about that oh, we cooked meal and we have to eat in the dark. My mother said, no, let's have candlelight dinner. Now that's an opportunity. That's looking it in a different way. That taught me the biggest value of my life, to look at positivity in everything. A coin has two sides, we have all known that. But whenever we are in problems, we try to look at that negative side first, because that's the easiest way to do. Looking at the positive will bring in lot of positivity, energy, and gratitude. The gratitude that, yes, we are getting a dinner to eat. There are so many people in the world who don't get even food to eat. At least we are getting that to eat. So that was the first step. Growing in that, the water used to come for 15 minutes, and you have to fill that water in that 15 minutes for the whole 24 hours for the next day. In that 15 minutes, you also have to ensure that your kids take baths, and you also fill in the vessel for the puja, which is to be filled after bathing. Now in 15 minutes, people take only shower, and imagine in 15 minutes drinking water, utility water, and even kitchen water has to be filled. So that taught me time management. Going through that journey, I also learned the value of money. On that journey, I also learned the value of business, entrepreneurship, because when money is not there, every single opportunity that you see to earn money, you grab it. So I became a cracker seller in Diwali. I used to sell darts. I went with my mother, the Amway fever that was going on, so we also went in that fever, and we did MLM schemes. Going through all that, the turning point, as you asked, was 26th July 2005. That was the worst day or the best day in our life. Worst because it made us lose everything that we had in the Mumbai floods, the first city floods that happened in Mumbai in 2005. The Mumbai local train was shut down. I was at the factory, my mother was at home, and I was away by just 45 minutes in train, but 14 hours by walk. And I literally had to walk the way, because local trains, the lifeline of Mumbai, was shut down. So that day when water was flooding the house, my mom and my younger brother were in the house trying to manage everything to put it on a higher ground. The water was seeping, and like we all remember in our school, we had Aruni story, the Aruni, the boy who had the dam in the ashram and did not allow the water. My brother behaved actually the same way. He was standing there with a granite thing, and he was trying to hold the water. It's impossible to hold the water for a longer time. So the uncle who was next to me just came and said, "Beta, ye kya kar rahe ho? If you do this, you will also die and your mother will also die. Let the water flow in, just come out of the house. There's nothing to save more than your life." And he kicked that patthar, and water just went gushing, sounds of washing machine, the gas cylinder that we had, the TV falling off, and my mom was in tears. Because everything that was done was just getting destroyed in front of her and just flowing out of the house. That was a moment she feared for her life for the first time. And that's when they decided that they will move out. Now trying to close a door when the water is there is very, very difficult. She could not close the door. She just had to run away. Run away without anything in her hand, because cupboards cannot be opened. Little money that we had is there. All documents is there. All our certifications is there. Open for destruction. Things moved on, and I traveled 14 hours with my father from a different area. So I was in Bandra Sion, he was in Chani Road in Mumbai. These are two locations in Mumbai, and we traveled all the way till Kandivali. We were only having one fear: are they alive? Is my mother and brother alive? And they were having a fear: is my son alive? So there's nothing else that mattered to us than the life. And when we met, the only thing we said was, thank God we are alive. And that's the day when I realized all the material things that we are running around for, money, fame, name, is all waste if you don't have a proper life and you don't have your relatives, your support family structure. And that's the day when I decided that if we live like this, we will die like this. And that was a turning point in my life, where my mother said one thing while she was weeping, grieving and everything. She said, "Sagar, nature has everything in abundance. Learn to channelize it. Don't sit and cry. Don't say, why me? Let us say, what next?" Because it's easiest way to say, why me, sit and cry and depend on others to do some magic for you. Nothing happens. And that's the day when I decided I will go to London. Now I became a laughing stock for everyone around me. घर में खाने के कपड़े पैसे नहीं है, पहनने के लिए कपड़े नहीं है, सोने के लिए बिस्तर नहीं है, और उसको लंदन जाना है. And people went ahead to tell me that you've lost your mind, get a treatment, get low, and think about it. Some even went ahead and said, we'll give you 15,000, open a vada pav lorry. That's a big business in Mumbai. You will earn very good money. I said, fair enough, but I want to go to London. I was determined and I visualized myself studying in London. I don't know where, but I just visualized that I'm studying in London. I've got a degree in London and a successful degree. But it was not that easy as I speak it now. I had to go through a lot of struggles trying to get that money, trying to get that loan, because who will give loan on a collateral house which is not even worth 1 lakh rupees? Right? There's nothing, no jewelry, no money, no house. And taking a loan and paying EMI was a dream, because my father's salary was not more than 3,500 to 5,000 on an average. So taking a loan and paying EMI was like not possible. So struggled, went to many organizations, many leaders in and around the society, MLAs, other sanstha's, to get some money, and everybody said 15,000, 25,000, when my requirement was 9,000 pounds. So I decided, forget it, I'll work and I'll earn, I'll do overtime, and I'll do everything that gives me money right now. Did that for 2 years while I was also struggling and finding different universities that can offer me scholarship, different universities that will offer me a lower grade tuition fee and take my credits or my experience or my education score. Now that worked for me. One day the universe answered our question, and one of my uncle, which I call Mota Mama with lot of love, he came to the house. He was an ex-banker, and he said, what happened? Why are you, what are you doing now? I heard that you want to go to London. So what is the status? And I started crying. I said, nothing is happening. And I've tried this. I showed him all the papers, all the documents, all the organizations where I went, all the banks that I approached. And he said, I will give you money. And that was a shock for me. But he said, I just want one promise from you. I said, please tell me. He said, will you pay it back to me? Because this is the only thing that I have for my old age. I am very happy with your dedication, conviction, and the zeal that you have. I'll give you the money. And that made me give him a commitment like a Bollywood movie that even till the last drop of blood in my body, I will ensure that I pay you. If not, I'll sell my kidney, I'll sell anything and give you, but I'll give you the money if I fail. So that was another lesson. Don't worry for failures. Don't worry to take that step. If you have the determination, if you know that you are confident about yourself, you know your ability, you know your skills, just do it. Things will fall in place. Just ensure you are committed 100%. And that's exactly what happened. He gave me money, I got my visa, got into education, and I started working in London as a bartender, litter picker, laborer, loader, anything and everything under the sun that gave me money. I was, yes, all I said is yes, yes, yes. And within 3 months, I earned that much money which I took from my mama and I returned to him. And I returned it with interest. And he said, are you stupid? Will I take interest from you? And I said, it will be my honor if you take interest from me, because I don't want anyone to take the lesson in future that you can take advantage of relatives. No. If you have taken money, you have the right to pay the interest. Take it. And I said, Mama, this is my gratitude to you and not my attitude. So please take it. And he said, God bless you, son. People like you instill trust in me that I can still give money to more people who will need for education. And that changed my perspective, where I'll come a little forward today, that today I am trying to sponsor 40 kids in an orphanage here in Hyderabad itself, in Uppal, where I give little sum of money every month from my salary for their education, because the education changed my life, and the only way I can repay is by changing somebody else's life. So that's something which I do now, apart from every other thing. So coming back to that journey of London. So that's where I got my degree, and after 2 years of working, 3 years of working in London, I sent money to my parents, and then I told them that that's enough of money that we have. Now why don't you try and look for a house in Bombay? That was not cheap, but I did earn good money there. And I told mom, the day you send me your selfie, having tea, worrying without the monsoon, because every year monsoon we used to have 3 inches of water. So the night we are sleeping, we know if it's going to rain. Morning we know that we are waking up in a pool of water. The pool is in the house, so you don't have to go out for any swimming pool outside. It's in the house. The only difference is that pool was not hygienic, and we had to be careful. But then I told my mom, आप चाय पियो and खिड़की में से मुझे फोटो भेजना कि आपने घर ले लिया है, and that is the day I'll come back. Because I did not go there for only money. My main mission was happiness of my parents and family. Money was secondary. And that's exactly the message I want to convey to everyone, that don't give money the only thing, the only aim in your life. Have a bigger purpose. The bigger purpose can be your parents, your family, or trying to do something for that other people, where money becomes your source, because that will bring you happiness and joy and peace. The millennials like me, I consider myself as a millennial, I am a millennial, we all are in hurries because we want instant gratification, we want instant happiness, instant results, but we don't have the patience to grow our skills. And that's exactly what London taught me. The 3 years I was there, it was teaching me the thing which is patience and having gratitude. And that's exactly what my journey in London studying. And then when I saw my mother sending me a picture with the tea in her hand, sitting on the 5th floor in a building, and I was like, job done, come back to India. So that's when I came back to India. I started working with HDFC in Mumbai, and then the journey brought me to Hyderabad, working in a public limited company here as a vice president. Again, growing this company from, doing very minimal profit to 7-figure profits in a span of 2 years, and then growing that company. And that's exactly been my life journey and my turning point to write about the crossroads in life. I would start saying that sometimes you have to become father to your own father. Now, why do I say that? Is because at certain age, when a father needs support, is when the son should become a father and not be ashamed of their fathers or any of the mistake. So what happened was, I was studying in London, and as I told you, I was sending money for my parents to buy a home in Bombay. So every once in 3 months, I used to get some amount of money from the company where I used to work as part-time, as a waiter, as a bartender, even picking up cigarette stubs in the dart competition. So they used to pay us on a per hour basis, and used to come once in a month, the payment. So I used to collect a good amount of money, 3 months, and I used to transfer it using various channels like Western Union or Transfer Money or any other bank, where you put the money in UK and give the name, number of the person in India, and they will come and pick it up. So my father picked it up once and twice, and the guy knew that this is a cycle, that every 3 months the son is sending money to the father. So one day when my father went to collect the sum of money, the person knew that he's coming, so he greeted and gave him water and gave him the money as well, and said, fine, buy enough. As soon as my father steps outside on the main road from the office, 3-4 good heighted built men come to him and say that we know that this money is black money. Your son is a smuggler and he is sending you this money doing wrong things. Now my father knew from the core of his heart that I am not doing any such things. So he started pleading them as a simple common man that no, you've got mistaken, my son is so and so, I've got all the details, I've got all the bank transactions, I've got all the documents for this money. It's not that thing, please forgive me and let me go. And they were like, no, we will put you into jail, thrash you and make sure that you spell out the truth. And my father was scared, and they said, if you don't do that, we will also inform the London police to grab your son and put him in jail. Now that was disturbing, is because my father knew what my goal was, and we were all working together as a family to achieve that goal of having a house in Bombay. So finally he gave up and he said, fine, you take all the money that you want, but please spare my son and myself and let us go. Fair, that's what they wanted. They were all gungs. They were, none of them were any CIDs or police. They were there just to steal that money, which we came to know after a few days. So the money was gone. Now that was lakhs of money, and his salary, as I told you, was 3,000 to 5,000 rupees. Now imagine, even if it was 1 lakh or 2 lakh, losing out 10 months or 20 months of salary was a shock to him. So for 3 hours he switched off his phone, nowhere to be found. I am not getting a call from him that yes beta, I have collected the money, it's safe with me, no problem. Mom is not reachable, and the situation in the home was no less than a panic. Now what do? There's nothing that I could do. And after 3.5 hours is when I get a call from my dad, profoundly weeping. He's just weeping, crying, nothing else. And all he's saying is, beta, I've spoiled everything. Beta, I've spoiled everything. Beta, I've destroyed everything. I am worthless. I am useless. I was like, Dad, what happened? Calm down. And he said, I lost all the money. Now the immediate reaction from someone who has earned it very hard would be to yell, to shout, or just to throw away the anger. God blessed me and made me think a little bit differently at that moment, and all I said to my father is, no problem, Dad. Are you okay? Is your health okay? Have they beaten you? No? No problem. Go back home. Now take a break for a moment here And imagine if I would have shouted to my dad. He's already depressed, he's already, crying, and suicide in Bombay on local train or anywhere is not a new thing. Today I'm laughing and enjoying that incident and happily sharing it, but what if my father would have committed something? I wouldn't have been able to face myself in my whole life. And that's the message which I'm trying to say, that you have to be father to your father, you have to be emotionally balanced, you have to grow up sometimes in life, and not every material thing when destroyed is more important than the emotion of the other person on the other side. Like I've seen parents, when children break something or spoil the car, they shout. Why? It's just a car, it's just a thing, you can always earn it back. But what happens to that kid's the emotion? Now imagine what would have happened to my father if I would have even stressed him more. Instead what I said is, no problem, you are okay, I will earn more. And that made me do more overtime job, earn more, and within 2 months I ensured I sent double the money to my dad and tell him, God is kind, because of you, he blessed me with a new job and I got more money. So please take it and let's enjoy. So again, finding opportunity in that adversity. The adversity was my father lost the money, I could have cribbed, I could have sat there, I could have cried. Instead I said, no, I'll do double overtime, I'll do more jobs. And luckily, I got into Pelicans. And that's where the turning point of my life happened. From earning just £7 an hour, I went up to earning a huge sum as £28,000 per the whole year. And that is a huge sum of money which made me transfer that money to my parents. And that was a life-changing incident. So everything that happens is for good. Think and you have a reason to smile. Love is about relationship. Love is about building that trust. Love is about, building that family. So why I said rise in love was, like everyone, I also fell in love. And she was beautiful and we had a good relationship, and that went on for a good time. But when I say a relationship, or when I say a good relationship, it was not a physical relationship that I'm mentioning. It was more as sacred, as religious, or as spiritual as you can say, that even when I was holding her hand, I used to feel blissful. And she was junior to me, and that happened very late after the college. While that was happening, we spent a year and a half, going around, talking to each other, spending some weekends together. But one day what happened? I went to meet her parents because there was a college convocation ceremony going on, and we had a 2-day ceremony to spend together, and also with her father. The incidents happened in such a way that her father started crying and said, you're a good boy, and it's nice, but I have a problem. If you marry my daughter, my mother, her mother will commit suicide. Now I never would want a relationship built with a family on a death. And that's exactly the story narrates how it happened. And when I say, rather than falling in love, or just achieving that love, or getting that girl, or running away, or being a revolt, doing all that does not give anything in life. Instead, grow and think big. Like, that's not the end of life. You can live better, you can do something better. If you cannot convince the parents, if something is not working out because of caste, because of religion, there are many things in India. Let's respect it and move on in life. There is always something better. And today, sir, I'm blessed to have Mansi, my wife, with me, because she's so loving, so caring, and I feel that we were made for each other. All I had to do is wait for a gap of 10 years, and now when I connect the dot back, yes, that happened for a reason, that happened for good, and that's where I say that you should rise in love and not fall in love. If something happens when you are in relationship, something happens where it does not work, fair enough, move on in life. Life does not end there. And it's very easy to give away, it's very easy to give up, it's very easy to fight back, it's very easy to revolt. but the most difficult part is to give in. So currently I was working since pre-COVID. I was working in the company that I told you that brought me here, and in COVID I discovered that I have a zeal of an entrepreneur. So during recent times I started my own company. I left the job and I started a company called Zapro Consultants. Now that is into building productivity mindset. Now many times when I say this, people say, what does it mean? So I say that I'm a productivity explorer. The first thing that you should do is explore. Only when you explore, you will discover. Now there are thousands of tools and techniques available to improve your productivity. But still, all of us will have a list of to-do list, and still after 6 months, 1 year, when we review our goals, we haven't met. Forget about 6 months. Even at the end of the day, the to-do list is still not completed. Because most of the times we work on the policy called who shouts the loudest. Or we don't know the art of saying no to the things which are not relevant to us. And that is exactly what I try and help people to build productivity mindset. And that exactly comes from my journey, because in slums you have to value money, you have to value time, you have to plan your things. You also have to be very, very focused on what you want to achieve. Like when I went to London, my focus was to earn that money and education for my parents. I could not drift anywhere, and that is where it helped me to understand the secret of building productivity mindset. And when it comes to The Secret, I would love to mention this book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I'm living that book. So the journey, the manifestation, everything, I'm living that book. So most of the time we read big books and we try to, see, oh, these are very big people. And that's where the journey or the thought came that I should write this book now, because I'm a commoner. I want to be a commoner, and I will always be happy to be a commoner, because that is what I want to let people know. If I can do it, you can do it. All you need is that determination. So that's where I started my journey as an entrepreneur, as a Zapro consultant. And while doing that, in last 2 years, I also built a good network through LinkedIn Local Hyderabad. So in Hyderabad, we used to call all the professionals, organize different events, different themes, and the main purpose of LinkedIn Local was to bring online profiles offline. And that networking, that building connection gave me happiness and also paved my path in this journey of entrepreneurship. And then I came across to a community called PSAI, Professional Speakers Association of India, and that motivated me, guided me to meet the right people and go through the journey of penning down this for people to read and grow and learn something that you don't need to be very different. All you need is to be having a determination. And when you are at the crossroad of your life, you need 3 main important things: action, motivation, celebration. When you want to take action, you need to learn the ECG. Now ECG here is not the ECG matrix of the heart, but basically you need to learn to evaluate your strengths, your weaknesses, your situations, and that will give you self-confidence. After you have done the evaluation, all you need to do is you need to plan up, or you need to strategize it, or ensure that you calculate your risk. So that's where I call it as C. So calculate your risk. Imagine what is the worst that can happen if you take this action. Once you are prepared for that worst, no sir, the fear is gone. And once the fear is gone, all you need to do is then the next step is just go and take the step. And once you have done that, you will be sitting here and enjoying giving this talk, or you will be sitting at my place, or even more than me. Just ensure that whenever you are at the crossroads, take the first step, and all you need to do is AMC of life, which is action, motivation, celebration. Motivation and celebration will happen is because in the life the journey is very, very long, and you need to motivate yourself, because there is nobody outside who is going to motivate you. And self-motivation will come by celebrating small wins. So let's say my goal was to give this interview, or my goal was to write this book, for example. Now when I wrote the book, let's say when I completed the first chapter, I have 2 options: either to feel the stress that I have to complete the book, or to enjoy, wow, I have completed the first chapter. And when you do that, sir, that gives you positivity, and that positivity makes you run even more. that makes you run even faster. So that's what I call the arc of life.